Welcome to the Team Ottawa podcast with Mayor Mark Sutcliffe. I'm Sam LaPrade. Mayor, we're still talking about Canada Day, and we're talking about Canada Day because the Canada Day floods have impacted thousands of people in our community, and you've come up with many, many solutions. Walk me through some of them.
Yeah, we're working with a number of different partners and with the city councillors in the areas that were most affected by the storm on Canada Day. There's about 4 or 5 different wards where that had the greatest impact, where thousands of residents had flooded basements. And I've been out meeting with some of those residents, talking to some of them on the phone, hearing what their concerns and obstacles are. And I want to reassure every single one of them that we are with them every step of the way in their recovery. Whatever it takes, however long it takes, we're going to be with them. And we've been doing a number of different things. So I actually had an opportunity to, a few days ago, go out with the Canadian Red Cross, who we brought in the Canadian Red Cross in a partnership. We've struck an agreement with them to support every single one of the residents who were affected with a package of resources and supports. And I was able to attend an event they had at Ben Franklin Place in Nepean, where they were welcoming people who had questions, where they were providing them with care packages, where they were registering them so they could follow up. And then I also went out into the community with the Canadian Red Cross and knocked on doors in the affected areas and provided care packages to residents, listened to what they had to say, what their needs are. So we're doing everything we can to support them. We're also, continuing to collect garbage. We're continuing to work with some partners like Habitat for Humanity Ottawa, Matthew House, and others to get furniture to some of the affected residents. They have programs that can help make that happen. Our legal department is working on some solutions to help residents with their insurance claims so that they have the support they need as they go through that complicated process. We are seeing more residents apply for the Compassionate Grant Program. The city has a program that gives $1,000 to each family who's affected by this to cover some incidental expenses. And we've added money to that program to make sure that everybody who needs that support, that it'll be available to them. We're working with the other levels of government. The Canadian Red Cross has launched a fundraising initiative to support flood victims in Ottawa. So there's a lot of different things going on, but the overarching message is we're continuing to work every single day with the residents who are affected. We're continuing to provide resources, bring in partners, bring in volunteer organizations, and offer help to them. And we will be there every step of the way.
And you've seen many examples as well, Mayor, of neighbors helping neighbors, strangers helping strangers. And has that been sort of the silver lining in all of this?
Absolutely. And, I always say, I'll just share a personal thing that, I've lost family members in my life. And when that happens, you see people rise to the occasion and everybody's so kind and sweet and generous during moments like that. It's a shame that it takes a tragedy or a disaster to see people at their best, but we really have seen people at their best in the last 3 weeks since Canada Day.
And shifting gears a little bit, I'm thinking about back to school, if you can believe it. We see the backpacks. You're ready to fill them for kids going back to school. And you're thinking about traffic, getting people around the city. What's developed?
Yeah, this is important. I've heard a lot of feedback from the community. We're a growing city and traffic has increased in Ottawa. There's been a lot of construction this summer, and including on the 417, which is, I'll just remind everybody, a provincial highway. It's not a city. We're responsible for a lot of the construction in Ottawa, but not on the 417.
True.
But, so it can be frustrating at times getting around the city. And we know that in September, the traffic is going to go up. Kids are going to be going back to school, back to university. People are going to be going back to the office after having been on holidays. The federal government is increasing in some departments the number of days per week that people are going to be going to the office, and we need to be ready for that. So we have been working with our partners and all the different departments in the city, including OC Transpo. They are increasing the frequency of Line 1 of the light rail system at the beginning of September. They're adding some express bus routes. They're tweaking some other routes to increase frequency and to make them serve the community better. We're doing all kinds of other things to improve traffic flow, to increase parking in the downtown core, just to make it easier to get around the city. And look, rush hour is still going to be rush hour. It's not like everybody's just going to sail through without there being any interruptions or slowdowns at all. But we want to make the traffic flow as well as it can for this time when there's going to be an increase in traffic. And I encourage everybody to check out, there's literally 48 different measures, almost 50 different measures that we are putting in place for September to make traffic flow more smoothly and to increase what we're doing with public transit. The team at OC Transpo has been great. So we're going to see more of that in the weeks ahead, and we're going to do everything we can to be ready for the growth in traffic in September.
And dovetailing into that investment into infrastructure is a big part of that. Walk me through some of those investments.
Yeah, that's connected as well. And people may have heard about this, but it's there's a lot of kind of government lingo and acronyms that get used. Development charges, or DCs, which is a fee that is charged on every new home that's built in the city. It's charged to the builder of that home, but they pass it on to the buyer of the home. And Ottawa's development charges, and all of that money goes towards infrastructure in those new communities.
Right.
Ottawa's development charges are way lower than the development charges in other cities, especially in the GTA. But we are working to reduce them even further. And I'm proud to say we got some credit for this in an article in the National Post recently, highlighting the fact that we're gonna cut our development charges by 50%, by more than 50%, in fact, by 54%. And the good news is, in return for doing that, we're going to get almost $700 million in investment from the federal and provincial governments to pay for infrastructure. And the kind of infrastructure we're talking about is widening major roads like Brian Coburn Boulevard in the East End, Carp Road in the West End, completing the Greenbank realignment in Barrhaven,
Yes.
Fixing some major intersections so the traffic flows through them better. So a lot of money is coming our way for infrastructure that is going to help traffic move better through our city. We're going to keep working hard on that and delivering that for our residents.
That is good news. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us for Mayor Mark Sutcliffe's Team Ottawa podcast.